back to the channel. Welcome back to Fallout 76 Game Guides. I hope you are well today, and we got a very special episode for you today, because today we are going to delve into the wonderful world of screws. Yes, that's right, people, you heard me right, the wonderful world of screws. Now, I've brought you a couple of game guides so far, such as the game guide on springs and the game guide on lead and growing your own adhesive, etc. For those game guides, it was pretty straightforward to find a place where you could easily farm those items. And of course, in the case of growing your own adhesive, you could actually literally farm your own products by growing things. But screws is one of those components that is absolutely essential to have in abundance as you're going through things to repair a whole number of things, including armor, guns, you name it. So it's a very important component for you to find. However, to find somewhere to repeatedly farm them is a little bit more difficult, and there really isn't a predetermined area that you can repeatedly farm screws in. Now, I have got a few suggestions at the end of the video, that some locations that you might want to try, but overall it is a very hard item to kind of farm. So we are going to try and give you as much information today to help you when on your quest for screws. We're also going to try and give you as much information that is correct today. When I researched this particular game guide, and yes, I did say research, I do research, guys. I know it's shocking, isn't it? And don't shout at me because I don't take that battered clipboard. I do come back for it, just in case you're having a heart attack. When I've done research on it, there is a lot of information that contradicts itself. There's a lot of old information being thrown around, and today what I'm going to do is try and clarify things as far as the information that is online available and correct at this point in time. I'm also going to dispel some misinformation as well towards the end of this video as well. It's just so that it kind of clears up a little bit of confusion, and certainly having gone through all the information that I went through, I can see why some people will maybe dispute what I'm about to say, or think that some information that's been put online is correct, and etc. So hopefully what I'm going to give you is what we can confirm. If there's any other pieces of information that you can give me at the end of this video, please feel free to leave comments down below. I really would like to hear your thoughts, and you know, if we have to do an update on this video, I'm happy to do it. Okay, righty, let's get into the wonderful world of screws. So where I thought I would start is by giving you the list of items that has been confirmed that you can get screws out of. Now, if you go onto the fandom wiki, there is quite a substantial list that's longer than this. However, that list has got a whole lot of items that have yet to be confirmed, as far as having screws in them and how many. So it's still very much a work in progress as far as collecting information for Fallout 76. So I would expect that list to kind of have information added as we go through the game. But at this point, here is a list of items that you can confidently collect and gain some screws from. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the higher value items today as individual items and break them down for you. If I don't show the item that are on this list, that means that you're only going to get one screw from each of these items. So that anything above one screw I'm going to show you today. And one thing that I did kind of come to the realization of when putting this list together and from various sources is that there's kind of a couple groups here that you can concentrate on if you really want to get go searching for screws. Anything with an office or a toy store or a shop that would have toys in it. Those are the two that I would suggest you kind of focus on. The reason I say that is for the offices you have desk fans, you have typewriters, like you get handcuffs, antique globes, sometimes in office, sometimes in schools. And then for the toy shop, you obviously have the toy truck, the toy car, the giddy up buttercup, and then the rest. Also restaurants, you would find a pepper mill and a hot plate. The rest are kind of just all put around all over the place. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the good old desk fan, and for the desk fan, weighs about £3. Yields a couple of screws and then 2 gears and 2 steel. For those who have been watching the channel for a while, you'll know my obsession in Fallout 4 with desk fans. Moving on up, we're going to go to the pepper mill. This is one that's kind of not totally obvious, but you can see you get 2 screws in it. The weight of it is only about 0.5, half a pound, so which is pretty good value for the amount of screws you get out of it. Couldn't confirm what other items might come out of this, unfortunately, despite having a good look around all over the place. But the good old pepper mill. So what's next? Well, it's the old typewriter. £5, quite weighty, but it does give you 2 screws, 3 springs and 3 gears, and it's certainly well worth collecting. And there is also a variant of this which is called the Carlisle typewriter, and this gives you an additional 2 screws plus some aluminium on top of the gears and springs. So definitely keep an eye out for both of those typewriters. There is a third one which I haven't included here, but it essentially gives the same yield as the Carlisle typewriter. Next up is the Giddy Up Buttercup. This just gives you a bonanza: 4 screws, 4 springs, 3 gears and 5 steel. So it's quite, even though it's heavy, it is certainly worth collecting. And I'd say keep a good eye out for this. Now, moving on to the actual, if you don't find a full Giddy Up Buttercup, if you find the body, you're still going to get a benefit. So you're going to get 2 screws, 2 springs and 2 steel just for the Giddy Up Buttercup body. So keep an eye out for these guys. The legs tend to be only springs and steel, I think, from memory. And finally, the new toy truck, which will give you 3 screws. I couldn't confirm what else it gives you, unfortunately, and it's about 0.8 of a pound. So keep an eye out for new toy trucks if you can find them. I would suspect in vaults and stuff like that. You're probably going to find these. Now, I want to move on to the kind of information on scrapping for screws that I don't think is correct. I don't think this is correct. And I found this when I was doing some research on this particular game guide as being in the game and scrappable in Fallout 76. When you look at the wiki, and the wiki I used is the fandom wiki, this is actually part of the Fallout 4 wiki. And again, if you actually search Fallout 76 and screws, this will come up at the top of the page after you've seen all the items, the list of items. If you scroll down to Fallout 76, you'll see the weapons list is not there. Now, just out of curiosity, I did actually do a bit of testing, quick testing on this. I scrapped a 44 pistol, I scrapped a 10 milli, and I think one of the laser guns I scrapped. I did not get screws for any of those guns, so I think this, if you see this online as being a potential source of screws in Fallout 76, I think I would advise that you do disregard it, because I think it's just a crossover information, and a lot of the information has been copied and pasted from Fallout 4 for Fallout 76, so you got to be very, very careful. So I thought I'd put that up and just make sure that I clarified that I don't think it's correct. and neither does the fandom wiki if you read it properly. So it's easy to get confused in this particular subject, to be honest, as I said earlier in the video. So moving on to potential farming location. So as you've seen at the start of this video, I was very successful in getting farming Charlestown Herald, and actually we ended up getting 12 screws for a couple of minutes work. By the way, if you have any other locations that you found kind of a good amount of screws, and I'm talking about 12, you know, in excess of 12 to 14 screws in one hit, please leave a comment down below, and I will certainly add that to. I'll probably put this graphic up on the Discord channel with a revised list. That's probably the best way to do it. So Charlestown Herald is down to my personal testing. I then went in and I done a run through the Capitol building, because I've seen a couple of YouTubers have suggested that the Capitol building is actually a good area, which is in Charlestown, to do some farming. Now, I must admit, I got a little bit more screws in that run through than I did in the Charlestown Herald. But here is the thing: the Charlestown Herald farming probably took me, I guess, about 5 minutes, 5-7 minutes, somewhere in that region, to get 12 screws and a whole lot of other springs and aluminium and all kinds of stuff. I then went and emptied out all my junk and went through the Capitol building, which took me about half an hour, and I probably got around 15-16 screws. So you got to look, if you're trying to do some farming and do it fairly quickly, then yeah, Charlestown Herald's probably a better location. Plus, there are less people that are enemies that are going to come and try and bother you as you're farming. There's very few in the Herald. Sugar Grove, I think we all know about Sugar Grove. Again, that has an abundance of desk fans and various other things, hot plates and all kinds of stuff, and that's been widely reported as being a potential site for farming. Certainly junk piles, which I haven't included here. You should be looking at all the junk piles around the map. And then White Springs Resort is another one that comes up as a potential farming location. But I think Sugar Grove and White Springs especially are probably tougher locations to farm, just because of the enemies. The popularity of White Springs, a lot of people go there. It gets nuked a lot, and so it would be a little bit of a tougher location to farm. Having said that, I can understand why it's on the list, having gone through all the cabins and whatnot when I've been in White Springs. And then finally, go looking for Wendigos if you're really keen on finding screws, because they usually drop some. And of course, somewhere like the Wendigo Cave or Freddy's Fear House are two like potential locations that you're going to find Wendigos on a regular basis. So quite a long game guide today, but I wanted to spend the amount of time on it because it is a critical kind of item that you have to get in the wasteland on a regular basis, and it's not the easiest to find. So I'm hoping this game guide will help you guys, and if it does, please let me know, and please, I would really appreciate the feedback. And if you do enjoy this game guide and it has helped you, please drop a like on the channel. So there you go, guys, we're back at the homestead. And that's another game guide for Fallout 76 done. Thanks for joining us on the channel. Thanks for the support as ever. And we'll catch you next time. See ya.